Welcome to the Amazingly Alcohol-Free Mother and Daughter podcast. I'm Jaime.
And I'm Jules.
And we're here to share our honest and unfiltered experience of how alcohol has impacted both of our lives and our relationship, and to show you that change is absolutely possible. Our whole lives, my mom, Jules, has always said, we can do anything because we're girls. And now we're not just saying it, we're actually living it every single freaking day. We believe in progress over perfection, and we are proof that we can do hard and often uncomfortable things. Hey, Jules, how's it going?
Hi, it's going good.
Well, let's dive into the conversation. So, we've been getting questions from some of our listeners asking for some advice. So, the typical questions that we usually get is about families and addiction. And so, for instance, I received a question that was, hey, I'm really concerned about my mom. She's been drinking for so long. She drinks too much. I've tried to do all the things to help her, but nothing's working. What can I do? So, my go to usually is you can't force anybody to change. They want to be able to do it themselves, or they need to be able to do it on themselves, right? Because anytime someone tries to tell you what to do, you're typically not going to do it. And it's something that needs to be like deep within to want to let go of alcohol, right? And so, Jules, I would love your thoughts on this because I know you've struggled with alcohol addiction for a large percentage of your life and you've been in pretty deep at some points. So, what is your perspective on this? And what is something we could typically do for our loved ones that are struggling with alcohol to just help them on their own journeys without feeling like we need to change them or fix them?
That's a really good question. Uh, I don't feel like anyone could have helped me because I was so deep into what I was doing and trying to hide it and all the things that go along with it and ashamed of it and it's just so much there. I felt like I got too far in where I couldn't tell anyone because it was getting that bad. And then add, the prescription pills onto that. And I felt like it was something um, I couldn't talk about to anyone. That it was no way. I just wouldn't. I was just too far in the whole thing. I think I didn't. People knew that I drank, but I mean, I never, just fell around drunk all the time or anything. I just drank beer mostly, and then wine too for a while. But if combine it with the pills, I was in my own world a lot. But it's still working, and but it had gotten to that point where I don't know. I think earlier on, well, okay, I went to rehab, which I didn't want to go. I didn't think I needed to go, and basically, my family, said you're going, uh, or my husband too, and that whole time, um, I just thought, this is not what I need. But then when I was asked what I need, I couldn't have told you. It's just I think you have to be something you have to be ready to let go of and confide in with someone. I didn't even confide in my best friend all the way, from 7th grade, how bad things had gotten. Um, yeah, it's a tough one. But I think until that person, I mean, a lot of people I find in my experience as far as rehabs and outpatient and that type of things that I went to. I went inpatient too and outpatient. Um, they don't land there unless something terrible happens, like a DWI when or someone gets hurt or killed in a car crash caused by someone drinking and driving. And
Mhm.
then they're forced to go in. A lot of them, the most part, are forced to go in to these, in my experience, that's what I've seen. And like inpatient for sure, and outpatient, but inpatient, I think I was the only person in there that wasn't court ordered of all the people, and there was quite a few, probably 45 maybe, and all of them were court ordered for some kind of problem with drugs or alcohol and driving, that type of thing, or hurt someone or robbed a pharmacy or something, like that. Um, and they all just said they were just doing what they needed to do so they, in front for the judge, so they can get out of there and go back to drinking. Except there's one other guy. He said he'd never drink again. An older guy, older like me. Otherwise, and they, a lot of them were just doing drugs down there at the rehab. People would bring them in and hide them different places, and you just have to be ready for it. But thank God that I never had that happen to me as far as a um well, obviously my life was a mess, but I never got a DWI, even though there's many times I should have.
I remember once where you were in Tacoma, Washington, right by your house, and you got in a car accident and you were clearly intoxicated. Do you remember that?
No. Oh,
Right off Pacific
oh my
Avenue,
goodness.
and you were like,
Were you with me?
No, I wasn't
Oh,
with you.
no,
It
that's
was
the
when I was
time.
older.
That's when I rolled my car, my Explorer, I think. I had a few accidents back in those days, and so it's
Yeah,
amazing that I didn't get arrested and not in jail or prison. I mean, all the
yeah,
times that I've driven like that, when I
mhm,
shouldn't have been driving, and then thinking, "Oh,
yeah,
I'm fine. I can drive home or I can drive to the store."
yeah,
I'll just be honest. There's time Todd was up here at Packwood, and we had the condo. And I was in the condo because I was working. Stayed in coma. I'll just tell you. I'll start with the day after. Okay,
yeah,
I wake up in the morning, and my whole everything is just full of groceries, books, and like things I'd never buy. Like probably I think it was like $800 worth of um, food and books and toys and from Costco. And I thought, what in the world's going on? No, that's just this can't be real. I must be dreaming. It was there just all over my living room, my kitchen, all these things, these groceries. And I was like, so now I saw the receipt, and I thought I had taken I had taken two Ambien, and had a couple of glasses of wine, and my memory was absolutely. Excuse me. And after you take a couple Ambien, then if you take, a lot of people take more because they don't remember how many they take.
yeah,
That's a common
yeah, it's
problem.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, I forget sometimes when I take, like, a regular medicine I have every morning, sometimes I forget if I take it in the afternoon, and I'm completely clear, so I
Well,
understand.
it does
So I'm like,
happen.
"Wait, did I take it or
Yeah,
not?" Like,
but with the Ambien, it's notorious for that. You're supposed to take it and take one and go to bed, and because, um, there's have lots of instances of people driving, they don't even know they hit somebody and, killed somebody. I've heard the stories about it. So anyway, I see that receipt, and it dawned on me, I looked at my bottle of Ambien, and it was almost gone. I thought, "What happened last night or yesterday?" And I looked at the receipt. It was me. I used the debit card. Nobody else was home but me. I used my debit card. It showed what time I was there, and I bought all of this stuff drove there and back, and absolutely no, and shopped and loaded my car, and don't remember 1 second of it. I don't think I ever told anybody
that is
that. Yeah.
that's terrifying, and I'm glad you're safe, but that is really scary. So when you woke up and you kind of put all the pieces together, did that make you start to question what was going on with you?
Yes, it did. And then even at that point, I thought, oh, now I'm even deeper. Now, I mean, nobody can know this. And it's just these, it's just that kind of thing that happened. I mean, that was shocking because I kept thinking I was dreaming because this stuff isn't really here in my house everywhere. $800 for this stuff. I mean, I couldn't put it together until I started looking at the receipts and everything. And the Ambien was gone. And I had bought a little 4-pack of white Zinfandel wine, and then 3 of those were gone. And I just thought, what the world's going on? Well, yeah, and it's a terrible thing to do, and not. I mean, anyway, drinking and driving, and I had done that throughout my life, different times. But this was a whole new level. But it was so bad, I couldn't tell anyone. I thought, "Oh, I have to do better. I've gotta do better. This can't happen again." So,
Yeah.
went a few days, no Ambien, no alcohol, and I thought, "I gotta get it together." And then it didn't last, I kinda just forgot about it and started
Yeah.
doing whatever, but that was a very serious in my mind, that was something that just shook me to the core when I really thought about it because, I mean, there was no memory at all, none. And I drove down there. I drove from, yeah, well, Pacific Tower. all the way to Costco and back.
Wow. So how far is that?
I'd say probably, mm, maybe about 8 miles.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, I'm so glad you're safe. And that turned out okay, but that's like really scary. So wow, that's a crazy story. So thank you for sharing that.
I mean, you're welcome, but how can you tell anyone that? That when the the stuff in my basement was so dark and getting deeper and deeper and darker, I just felt
Yeah.
like at this point in time, I can't definitely can't tell anyone ever. And it's just that 'cause
Yeah.
nobody would understand. They'd think, "Oh my god, that's awful." You need a
Yeah.
psychiatrist or something, which I do have now, but it's just like it's not a normal behavior for someone. But I really think it happens to people, to be honest. I've known of some people that's happened to, not specifically with Ambien, but um, other, alcohol alone. And it's been a miracle that I didn't end up in prison or killed or hurt somebody else, definitely, or got a DWI.
Right? I mean, blacking out is really common. So, but also when you said, like, how could I share that with anyone because you're keeping it in your basement, right? Like, no one wants to go in there. But also, you came and I think during that time, I don't know when that was specifically, but up until a year ago, I don't think that I mean, over the years, I don't think you've been treated like you have been, like, right? I feel like there's a lot of judgment coming from your family members, not a lot of empathy for you, a lot of resentment for you. And we didn't really talk about anything either. I was like really angry with you over those years, right?
Yes,
So I never really treated you the way, and I didn't honestly, it was really hard for me to see my mom doing that. I didn't understand it. If you love me, like, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you continuing to do this? Because I didn't have that understanding. And then once I became a coach and started doing my own therapy and working through it, then I started, working with you on a different level or just as mother and daughter of being more empathetic, like more understanding. You joined the community and then you started to let go of all that shit in your basement, right? And start to share it. But I think back then, there was never a safe place for you to be able to share. So why would you do that? Because if you went and called me or my brother, your husband, and told them about that, we'd be like, what the fuck? Right? Like what? Like we'd be like, what? That is
and
insane.
that's what I
And
would
I don't,
expect.
I don't
Anybody
think,
to do.
yeah, and I wouldn't be responding like I just did hearing this for the very first time. Like literally, this is like me and Jules when we record these. We typically have a topic and we just talk, and I do very little editing. So this is a surprise to me. But if you would have told me this 5 years ago, I would have not approached you in this way, right?
Right.
So I think that's probably the difference of it too. I don't know. What do you think about that?
It was about, I think, see, it was probably about 10 years ago, around 10 years ago, I think that happened, or 12. Um, and during that time, it's just something you don't, in our family, you just don't do that, those kind of things. That it's just kind of like, I mean, I just thought it was just the worst thing ever, that I did that. But I mean, and there's a different family dynamic where I didn't feel like I could trust anybody with that kind of information. And it's not that I didn't trust my kids though, some other people, but with my kids, I just thought I can't tell them something so bad because I'm the mom. I need to take care of them. And so that I can never tell them what's going on because they'll just worry so much. So I thought that was better for you guys that I was, trying to hide all that from you. And if you knew, you guys would spiral into depression or anger or mostly disappointment. And I thought it's better if I just mask it and, get it, try to do better. And so nobody will know. And that's what I did for many years. In the last year,
Hmm.
14 months has completely changed my life since I've joined your club. It's just been amazing for me. But um, I've never ever been one to share a lot. Very private person.
Hmm.
And for
Hmm.
some reason, things just come out with my girl here on our podcast. And I
Apparently.
It's really strange because there's been some really serious topics, that we've covered, and not once has have I felt judged or, felt anything negative whatsoever. Just compassion and, um, what what I could do to help you, and, it's just my kids, it's hard to say, it's, kind of emotional for me, but it's, like, so much support, and I always wanted my kids to be proud of me. And I knew that I messed that up, a long time ago with that kind of stuff. And then putting distance between my kids and myself. But once Edward was born, I thought that changed things around a lot for me too. Like I got a lot better and I quit drinking for a long time. But I always thought, well, I'm doing so good at that was easy. That was easy, to quit for a few months. And then I started drinking like one beer and then, maybe having a little half a glass of wine. And next thing you know, I was, it was kind of starting all over again, but not in front of him. Although I think one time Jamie came out to my car to greet me and help me with some stuff. And like beers rolled out from under the seat. And she was I was mortified. And
It was
they
like
were,
in the morning. You were drinking
you
in the
remember that?
morning.
Do you remember that?
Yes, of course.
Oh my
Every time you came
God.
over, I thought you were drunk and drinking, and I would sneak in your closet and look through all of your bags because you were always sneaking stuff
So
because
awful. See, that's what
yeah.
you're reduced
Yeah.
to. And your family, it's like it's better that obviously they
Oh
don't
my god.
probably even want to be around you when you're lying and lying about everything and hiding and there's so many dark secrets and it's very hard to be the real person that you are and other people know you are too. And all of a sudden you're not that good person, you're not that caring person, or you wouldn't have done that to your family. You wouldn't have done that to your kids. You're not, you don't have a good heart, or why would you do that? It's just like it's the stuff that went through my mind a lot, and then I'll do it better, and I would go right back to it eventually. But yeah, it was quite something. But I mean, how can you expect your kids to want to be around you when you're like that? And then especially as you think you're acting normal and they know that you're not, that you're using something, and drinking. And it ends up being very ugly sometimes and hard feelings and yeah, a lot of yelling and more hiding, more lying.
So
I'm sorry about that, Jamie, too. I want to tell you that. All that.
thank you. And there's a lot more that we can unload on this podcast. We'll
Oh
just
my
keep going
gosh.
week by week. So what is your advice then for somebody that's saying, "Hey, my mom drinks too much. I'm very concerned about her. I'm trying all the things, but she's not listening to me. She's in poor health and it's stressing me out. I don't know what to do." What is your advice to that woman that feels like I used to feel? What would you say to her?
I would tell her kids maybe she feels too bad about herself to deserve love from her family or her children when she knows she's doing things that upset them. But I think I would tell her, "Those kids, those babies, your family has your back. You just don't know it right now. And it's not so awful that um that you can't get some help. Or if she's not ready to do that, there's really not a whole lot you can do except for be supportive all the time, and just say, no matter what you talk about, we're here for you. I'm here for you, and nothing you say or do or anything is gonna change that. But but there are some, I would say, there are boundaries with that kind of thing going on, and
Mhm.
maybe she would have to maybe possibly have to just say, it's really hard for me to be around this when you're doing this to yourself. And
Mhm.
I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I just need to separate myself more from this because, it's so bad for you and I can't stand to watch you kill yourself with alcohol. And
Mhm.
and then I would say you have to keep that kind of what you said, you'd have to do it. I know it's really hard, but and I think she would be okay once if her daughter came back and said again, just reassured her that, there's no judgment or anything, they're just worried. I think I think she'd come around and see that she's really hurting herself and really hurting her family.
So I think for me, like as somebody that's been in the shoes of having, a mom that, struggled with alcohol and pills and whatnot, um, you know, it's really hard to not worry about your mom or your dad, family, whatever it may be, because you just like love them so much. But really at the end of the day, it's their decision if they want to drink or not drink or do whatever they want to do. And you just can't force people to do that. My recommendation is somebody that's been in the shoes, right, is maybe seek some therapy. Maybe it's joining your own community. Maybe it's getting a coach. Maybe it's journaling your thoughts about it, and working on maybe healing yourself first. And then also really just trying to come out this person with more of a level of understanding. For Jules, she's like a very strong addiction to it. She's always had this like fascination with pills and alcohol and numbing. And Jules feels really deeply about people, and she has like highs and lows. I also know that Jules didn't have tools like I have now, right? And she has now when she was growing up. And so I think just having that level of understanding, compassion, it's like they're just doing the best that they can, right? And so just really trying to come in with just more of an understanding. And then also, are there other people that you can when I said a community earlier, is there a community that you can join? I know there's like Al-Anon. I have been to one for my mom. Don't know if you ever did do that, but was not my favorite thing to do. But I've gone to a couple meetings there. Maybe it's talking to another family member or just finding somebody in inner circle that gets it and that you can just confide in, right? But also jumping to worst case scenarios doesn't do you any favors. Just telling yourself it's going to work out the way it's supposed to. It's going to be okay, right? And at the end of the day, if something does happen to mom, you'll be there to help support her however you can, and your family will too. But you can't change people. So you just have to be able to figure out how you can best support. And you might have to walk away, take a break. I remember, Jules, when you were in that rehab, and I think it was a Luke, myself, and my brother Dave. So Luke's my husband. We were in a room with all the other people visiting, and they pretty much said, like, you should just stop contact altogether with your loved one when they're going through that. And I was like, I can't do that. Like, that's awful because I would feel so bad about myself if I did that. Um, but now, honestly, if I had to protect myself, my children, I might have to do that. Right.
100%.
So, yeah. And that could be also the thing that makes him say, "Okay, like, this is really freaking serious. I need to do something about it," right? But so that's kinda my thoughts on it. It is hard. It is so freaking hard. I've struggled with anxiety over it for a very long time, but the really cool thing is me and Jules are now on this journey together, and we're supporting each other, and we're there for each other, and we're healing together, which is really freaking cool. So I feel really lucky that we get to be able to do this and
Yeah.
talk out loud about it and just, and share our experiences with others. And so I hope this resonates with everybody that's listening. And Jules, any other final thoughts or anything I'm missing?
What I was thinking about what a little bit was if I kind of represent an older, I would say, sober sober community, I guess. And I think that if I could help one person, even if they're older or younger, um, and I there's so many things I think that I've been through that I could actually nothing would surprise me that anybody told me. I mean, I've done it all pretty much, almost. But,
Uh,
if it's helped one person, like, you should just jump on, Jamie's, meeting once, her mom was like, "I'm just doing this to support my daughter. I don't need the help. That's me." That's how I viewed it, but I'm gonna support you by listening and that. Well, here I am, 14 months later, and it was a different
yeah.
life, a completely different life. I
Hmm.
just can't even imagine, but if that could help somebody, it's like, I mean, I would love to
Yeah.
talk to them or, any
Yeah.
situation they've been in with drugs or alcohol or, um, anything like that. Just I would love to help anybody. Just one person would be perfect.
Oh, I love that. And so please feel free to reach out. All my email is in the show notes. So if you have any messages for me or Jules, I will definitely pass them over to her. And I really appreciate that, Jules. Like that's just I mean, and that's why we do this, right? If we can just help one person, then like I'm good. Like that's really the goal of all this, of us sharing like all these things that we've never shared with anybody before. It's crazy. So I don't a lot of this I haven't even shared with Luke and he's upstairs. So well, thanks everybody for listening. I also have a newsletter that I send out every week. I always share something deeply personal and how I approach life with tips and tricks and all that kind of good stuff. So if you're looking for a little inspiration, feel free to sign up. The link is in the show notes. And I hope you have an amazingly alcohol free rest of your day. And just remember, drinking will not make it better. So don't do it. Okay. And you got this. Keep going. We'll talk to you later. Bye.